Thanks for joining us on the weekend edition of National Focus. I'm Kerdisha St. In the headlines, the Ministry of Commerce, Enterprise and Small Business Development seeks to fuel economic development in Dominica, and the Dominica Council on Aging brings awareness to care of the elderly. Details of our headline stories and more after this.
Did you know the Caribbean Court of Justice is two courts in one? The CCJ has two functions: an original jurisdiction, which deals with your right to move between CARICOM countries freely and your right to move your money and your business. This is the basis of the CARICOM Single Market and Economy, CSME, and the revised Treaty of Chaguaramas, and an appellate jurisdiction to hear appeals from courts of those countries which decide to use it as their final court of appeal and no longer go to the Privy Council. All CARICOM member states who have signed the agreement establishing the CCJ are members of the CCJ.
Thanks for staying with us. The Ministry of Commerce, Enterprise and Small Business Development is seeking to be the key driver to fuel economic transformation in Dominica. That mandate was revealed at the launch of the Small Business Development Center initiative last Friday. The Small Business Development Center seeks to provide a more structured organization for upcoming business owners who seek assistance with their own businesses. But the Honorable Minister for Commerce, Enterprise and Small Business Development, Rosalind Paul, says in order to successfully implement the center and fulfill her ministry's mandate, a few areas need to be addressed.
Establish specialized centers to respond to clients within the business community, that is their changing and evolving needs, to empower for empowerment through expert technical assistance, expert advice and technical assistance, entrepreneurship training and mentoring, in order to really build the human capital necessary to drive business forward. Capacity building of key agencies and institutional strengthening for those involved, an important network of support which can translate into greater access to regional and international markets, facilitation and promotion of leadership and good business practices, inclusion and active participation of women, men, youth, the indigenous and rural communities for business development.
The Small Business Development Center is a collaborative effort between the Ministry, the Organization of American States, the University of Texas on San Antonio, and the U.S. State Department. In more news, the Dominica Council on Aging, recognizing the ill treatments of the elderly that exists in Dominica, has chosen to give attention to resolving this issue in 2015. President of the Dominica Council on Aging, Zet Matuse, says that the council will this year embark on a campaign to bring awareness to the abuse of the elderly and to stress that they need to be cared for. Tuse was speaking at the celebration of the 100th birthday of Catherine Daniel of Point Michelle on Sunday.
This year, the Dominica Council on Aging has taken as its theme the abuse of the elderly. Because more and more, this is a growing trend in our communities. And abuse can range in many different ways, can be manifested in many different ways. And so we want to bring that to the fore and to let our communities be aware that that is going on and that we want to stamp it out, because our seniors, our older persons must be treated with respect. We must honor them, and we must really allow them to live the rest of their lives in dignity.
As part of its activities, the Council has planned an awareness march through the streets of Roseau for June 15th. In September, the Council also plans to host the 3rd Caribbean Conference on the Abuse of the Elderly.
We are hoping that from this conference, we will be able to bring together persons throughout the Caribbean, so that we can look at this plague which is really beginning to plague our society, coming into our society, and to try to put together different methodologies and other things that may help to bring about, to decrease the incidence, as well as eventually to stamp it out of our society.
Tuse encouraged all to look out for the elderly and to join in the efforts of the Council on protecting their rights. The Dominica Labour Party government has also recognized the plight of the elderly. In 2010, the Yes We Care program was launched as a response to the deprivation and isolation of some of Dominica's elderly citizens. Due to migration and changing family structures, many elderly persons were left uncared for and living in poverty. In addition to the Yes We Care program, government also continues to provide elderly citizens with free cooking gas, increased allowances, and the provision of housing. According to plans set for this term, government has pledged to continue these programs and to ensure that mechanisms are put in place to respond to new needs. You're watching National Focus. Still to come, nominations open for Youth Awards 2015. Stay with us.
There is a silent, invisible killer in our midst, a killer which largely goes unnoticed as it plies its deadly trade. Its name is secondhand tobacco smoke, which has a far greater impact on persons inhaling this poison than on smokers themselves. Secondhand tobacco smoke is especially detrimental in public places and negatively impacts our national health as well as public health expenditure. Stop this invisible killer now. Say no to second-hand tobacco smoke in public places. A public health message brought to you by the Ministry of Health and the Pan American Health Organization.
Welcome back. Public Relations Officer of the Dominica Labour Party, Dr. Philbert Aaron, says that the Honorable Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit has made a major impression on the island's political history. Dr. Aaron was a guest on a live television discussion at GIS Studio on a Tuesday evening. He says that while the Dominica leader took over the reins of the party at a challenging time, he has made major gains.
The climb that he has to make is one of the steepest, and he will do it, for example, marking a number of records. He will be the person to give the Labour Party its first majority in about 30 years. He will be the person to reverse course and instead of declining fortunes for a party in office, increases it. He will be the guy who joins Mary Eugenia Charles in 3 terms. He will have the highest personal, individual vote percentage, 62%. He will score the record of 18 seats, the highest ever, and he will have a number of other achievements which show that what I was saying, that not only do you prepare for office, but while in office you have to lead yourself. Lead your own education, lead your own growth. So I hear you say that task was doubly hard. It was doubly hard because, you know, for all those things, those weaknesses in his own position, but also he takes over in the 4th year of a 5-year term.
Historian Dr. Lennox Honeychurch noted the strides made by the DLP leader in deepening ties with countries while establishing new relations with others.
The biggest foreign affairs move, March 2004, that shocked everybody.
I know.
I was at the University of the West Indies at Mona in Jamaica. I turned on the television in the morning, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And of course, I couldn't understand what was going on because it was all in Chinese. And then it dawned on me that, you know, this was a relationship that was being developed. Still waters run deep, talked about weakness. But you know, even in that sort of background, there may have been a thought process going on in the mind of Roosevelt Skerrit quite way back that was quietly determined to make that move. And therefore, within that short period of time, he had to have a sort of blitz, a blast of foreign policy relations. And of course, he used the connection with Cuba, with Venezuela, which at that time in 2004, you know, was a rising power under Chavez. It was seen to be, you know, a golden path that was going on. The price of oil was very good, and it was all in their favor. And so he was able, by really, you know, working over time during that period, to face the 2005 election and carry it through.
In more news, the National Youth Council is calling on the youth to come out and nominate other young individuals for the National Youth Awards. The National Youth Awards, which is hosted by the National Youth Council, is a way of recognizing youth across Dominica that have excelled in their field. Persons wishing to nominate someone have until April 16, 2015.
We're asking the general public to nominate them, to nominate any outstanding youth, any outstanding young person that you know, so that they can be awarded by the National Youth Council of Dominica. There are categories in entrepreneurship, sports, media, music, excellence, and we urge young people to take the opportunity to if you know of somebody who can nominate you, come for a form, pick up our form. Our office is at 42 Kennedy Avenue in the previous GIS building where GIS used to be. You can just come upstairs. You're going to meet our lovely staff at the National Youth Council office, and the form is very easy to fill out.
The Youth Awards is being held for the 10th year and takes place on May 30th, 2015. Now for a recap of the week's headline stories with Tasia Flusak.
Welcome to this week's edition of Flashback. In the headlines this week, the new Newtown Primary School is well on its way to completion by the end of July. Cabinet ministers, Ministry of Education officials, and the Chinese ambassador, His Excellency Li Jiangning, took a tour of the facility on Monday where work was underway. The school is a 6.8 million EC dollar gift from the People's Republic of China. The Honorable Minister for Public Works, Ian Pinard, reported that works on the Roseau and Portsmouth enhancement projects are set to commence soon. Contracts for these projects are being finalized. The first phase of the Roseau enhancement project will include the demolishing of the West Bridge for the construction of a new one and road and sidewalk rehabilitation on Independence Street. The National Youth Council held its first caucus for the new year last Saturday, seeking to obtain better governance and improve functionality. The Youth Caucus consists of 3 sessions: the opening ceremony, business sessions, and reporting sessions. Various districts reported on their work plans for the new year. On April 2nd, the world turned its attention to those affected by autism. World Autism Awareness Day was designated by the United Nations in 2007 to bring light to the issues that affect persons suffering from the disorder and to work to improve their quality of life. This year, autism awareness was recognized with the theme Employment, the Autism Advantage. Also this week, the Honorable Parliamentary Representative for the Grand Bay constituency, Justina Charles, accompanied GIS to several road projects that were being undertaken in her community last week. Among the works was a $90,000 road for residents in the Hagley area, where about 15 people were employed. The Ministry of Agriculture is preparing for the weaning and hardening of banana tissue culture plantlets expected to be on island by April 7th. The ministry will also receive assistance from the Chinese Agricultural Mission, who has provided 700 seedling trees for weaning and hardening. These plants were secured from France under the Banana Accompanying Measures BAM program. It was announced on Friday, 27th, that farmers in the community of Bells will soon be able to utilize an agro-processing facility there. The facility, which will be used for processing dashing, was funded by the Global Environment Fund Jeff Small Grants Program to the tune of $50,000 on land provided by the government of Dominica. The Point Michel community came together on Sunday to celebrate Palm Sunday and began the birthday celebrations for Dominica's newest centenarian, Catherine Peltier. Mass was attended by His Excellency the President, Charles A. Savre, and Mrs. Savre, Minister for Social Services, Catherine Daniel, and Member of Parliament for the area, Ian Pinard. Peltier was born on March 28, 1915. On Friday, the Ministry of Commerce, Enterprise and Small Business Development, along with the Organization of American States, OAS, U.S. State Department, University of Texas on San Antonio, and the National Development Foundation of Dominica (NDFD) launched the Small Business Development Center initiative. The center will provide services such as business plan development, manufacturing assistance, financing packaging, and lending assistance, among other things. And those were the headline stories which made the news this week. For details of each of these stories and others, visit our website or Facebook page. Let's get back to Kerdisha.
Wash your hands. I am Adora Tuse, health educator from the Ministry of Health. Proper hand washing protects against the spread of many common illnesses and germs. Wash your hands often with soap and water, or you may use a hand sanitizer. Remember, clean hands save lives. Protect yourself.
A message from the Health Promotion of the Ministry of Health.
The Easter holiday is a time when the entire family can have some clean fun. Easter may be just one of the most busiest times of the year. Instead of making all those arrangements, plan a simple trip for the weekend. Close friends are more than helpful, and it keeps things small and personal. If you have kids, do an errand in the backyard. If you don't, take a walk along the beach or forest. And that's all for this edition of National Focus. We always welcome your suggestions and comments. Drop us an email at gis@dominica.gov.dm or visit our website news.gov.dm. Like our Facebook page, facebook.com/GIS News Dominica, and follow our Twitter at GIS Dominica. You can also catch up on past National Focus newscasts on our GIS Dominica YouTube channel. From all of us here on the GIS News production team, I'm Kerdisha Senwi. Thanks for watching and do have a great weekend.